They don't tell you when it starts. One day, you just wake up, and everything feels a little heavier. Not your body, your mind. You're 25, maybe 30. Still young, right? But something's changed. You're more tired, even after sleep. You're more guarded, even around friends. You laugh less, you scroll more, you feel things deeper, but talk about them less. It's not just age, it's accumulation of pressure, of noise, of invisible habits that slowly steal your clarity without ever making a sound. Ever looked in the mirror and felt like you're still there, but a little more faded? That's the shift. That's what aging really feels like, not more wrinkles, more disconnection from who you were and who you want to become. But here's the good news. You're not powerless, you're just untaught. So stay with me, because in this video, we'll break down 12 silent habits that are aging you from the inside out, and how one stoic wisdom can help you reclaim what time tried to take. Not youth, but presence, strength, and peace at any age. Let's get one thing straight. This isn't a list of bad habits. It's a mirror, a quiet, honest reflection of the invisible things we start doing the moment we feel time pressing on us. Because aging doesn't just show up in your skin, it shows up in how often you apologize for being tired, in how often you say, "I'm fine," when you're clearly not. And worst of all, it shows up in how slowly you stop showing up as yourself. But the Stoics left us a blueprint, not to stay young, but to stay powerful. Because you can't stop time, but you can stop the habits that steal your presence, your fire, your sense of center. So in this video, we'll walk through 12 small, silent habits that slowly age you from the inside out, each one paired with a stoic shift. Not to help you fix your life, but to help you reclaim it. And if you stay with me until the end, I'll share the one habit that cost me years of clarity, and the simple, ancient practice that finally set me free. Let's begin. This is Ryan. 31. Freelancer. Decent income. Smart. Put together. But something's been off lately. He doesn't bounce back like he used to. Small things feel heavier. Even his hobbies feel like work. He tells himself, it's burnout. Takes a weekend off, buys a few supplements, switches to decaf. Still, the heaviness stays. Until one morning, he finds an old hoodie at the bottom of a drawer, worn out, faded. Once his favorite. He puts it on, and it doesn't fit. Not because he's changed size, but because he's changed shape inside. That hoodie, it felt like the past version of him that still lived in the closet, waiting for a comeback that never came. And suddenly he realizes, maybe this isn't burnout. Maybe this is aging. Not in years, but in layers, old identities shedding, old masks cracking, old assumptions getting quiet. That moment didn't break him, it brought him back to the version of himself that didn't need to force being cool or productive or invincible, just present, just real. Because aging isn't just about, decline, it's about distilling, removing what no longer belongs, so what remains is finally yours. Just like Ryan, you might not be broken. You might just be outgrowing the parts of you that were never meant to stay. Habit number 1, you stop speaking your mind. It starts small. You hold back one opinion in a meeting, you smile. Through one joke that cuts too deep, you change your tone, just a little, so you don't come off too intense. And at first, it feels smart, safe, strategic, but over time, it becomes a habit. You filter everything. You rehearse your honesty. You trade clarity for comfort, theirs, not yours, and slowly, you stop hearing your own voice. Not out loud, but inside. Because when you spend years softening your truth, you forget what full volume even feels like. The Stoics never told us to be aggressive. They told us to be authentic. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Epictetus and your truth. That's within your control, always. So here's the shift. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be honest. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when it shakes things up, even when your voice trembles a little. Try this. Next time you feel tempted to shrink, pause. Ask yourself, is this silence protecting me or disconnecting me? Then speak. Say one true sentence, even if it's quiet, even if it's awkward. Because every time you speak your mind, even in a whisper, you teach your nervous system, this is what safety feels like. And that's how you age, without fading. Your voice isn't a liability, it's a lifeline back to yourself. Habit number 2, you stop taking up space. You don't even realize it at first. You start choosing the corner seat. You wait for everyone else to speak first. You apologize when you haven't done anything wrong, not because you're shy, but because somewhere along the way, you began to believe your presence was too much. So you shrink. You make yourself smaller, more agreeable, more easy to be around. And over time, you disappear from your own life. Because the more space you give up physically, the more you surrender emotionally, until even your joy feels like an inconvenience. The Stoics never told us to dominate a room, but they reminded us. You were born with a place in this world, and you don't need permission to stand in it. The world turns aside to let any man pass who knows where he is going. Epictetus. Taking up space isn't arrogance, it's aliveness. It's saying, I have a right to exist, I fully, freely, unapologetically. Here's your shift. Stop apologizing for your presence. Start anchoring into it. Try this. Next time you walk into a room, pause, stand still. Let your feet feel the ground beneath you. Then say to yourself, I belong here, I don't have to shrink. To be accepted. Because you don't need to be quieter, to be respected. You don't need to be smaller, to be safe. You just need to remember. The space you take up isn't a threat, it's a gift. Stop shrinking. You weren't meant to be invisible. Habit number 3, you avoid looking inward. When was the last time you sat with yourself? Without music, without a screen, without needing to fix anything. Silence used to feel peaceful. Now it feels like pressure. So you stay busy, you keep scrolling. You listen to 5 podcasts a week about self-growth, but can't sit still for 5 minutes with your own thoughts. Because deep down, you're afraid of what might come up. The sadness, the resentment, the dreams you buried under practicality. But the truth. Avoiding yourself doesn't make the pain go away. It just lets it live in the dark. And what lives in the dark eventually starts to control you. The Stoics didn't fear introspection. They saw it as necessity. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. Seneca. Conquering isn't violence. It's awareness. It's learning to sit with your discomfort, without distraction, without running, without shame. Here's your shift. Stop confusing busyness with balance. Start creating space to listen, not to the world, but to yourself. Try this. Each night, before bed, ask one question. What did I feel most today, and why? Then write down the first honest answer. Don't spiritualize it. Just notice. Because until you name what's inside, you'll keep chasing things outside to cover it up. And that That's the fastest way to grow old, without ever growing deeper. You can't heal what you refuse to face, and you can't grow if you never look within. Habit number 4. You over-identify with your job. So, what do? It's one of the first questions we ask, and sometimes the hardest one to answer. Because what starts as a role slowly becomes your identity. You're not just someone who works in marketing. You are the marketing guy. You're not someone who runs a business. You are the founder. You're not someone who teaches. You are the mentor, the expert, the strong one. And it feels good until it doesn't, until your self-worth becomes tied to your title, your salary, your productivity, until every bad day at work feels like a bad day as a person, until rest feels illegal, because if you're not performing, who even are you? The Stoics warned us about this trap. You are not your roles, but the mind that observes them. Marcus Aurelius. Your job is a function, not your fullness. You can give your work excellence, but never your entire self. Here's your shift. Stop introducing yourself as a position. Start grounding yourself in presence. Try this. Next time you think, I'm failing, replace it with, I'm experiencing failure, but I'm not defined by it. Then breathe, because identity isn't what you do. It's who you are when all the doing stops. And if you've forgotten that person, that's okay, because now you get to remember. Your value doesn't live in your output. It lives in your being. Habit number 5. You start settling for convenience over connection. You stop reaching out. Stop checking in. Stop calling just because. Not because you don't care, but because it's easier not to. Life gets busy. Schedules don't align. Small talk feels draining. You tell yourself, they know I love them. They're probably busy too. And slowly, you trade depth for ease and call it adulthood. But what no one warns you is this. Convenience creates distance, not just from others, but from yourself, because real connection. It takes effort. It takes discomfort. It takes saying, I miss you first, even when your pride resists. The Stoics prized relationships, but they valued them through presence, not proximity. We are not given a short life, but we make it short by wasting it on the trivial. Seneca. And what's more trivial than choosing passive consumption over active connection? Here's your shift. Stop waiting for the right moment. Start showing up, imperfectly, but intentionally. Try this once a week. Pick one person you care about. Don't text. Don't just like their post. Call them. Even for 5 minutes, ask how their heart is, not just their calendar, because people don't remember your memes. They remember your effort. And you'll remember how alive it feels to matter and to make someone feel that too. Convenience kills intimacy. Choose effort. Choose people. Habit number 6. You let fear disguise itself as maturity. You stop taking chances. You tell yourself you've grown up. You're more realistic now. You don't chase big ideas. Don't express wild emotions. Don't open your heart too wide, because that's just part of getting older, right? But here's what you don't say out loud. You're not mature. You're just afraid. And you've gotten good at hiding it. You've learned to cloak your fear in logic, to call your numbness peace, to label your stagnation stability. But the Stoics knew maturity isn't fear dressed in strategy. It's courage, refined. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Seneca. You're not supposed to become less alive as you age. You're supposed to become more precise about what makes you feel. Here's your shift. Stop hiding behind, I'm just being smart. Start asking, is this wisdom or is this fear in disguise? Try this. Write down one thing you've secretly wanted but haven't pursued because it sounds unrealistic. Then sit with that desire, not to act on it impulsively, but to reconnect with the you that still believes. Something wild is possible, because comfort can feel like clarity, until it becomes a cage. And if you're not careful, your maturity might rob you of the very risks that were meant to awaken you. Don't let fear wear a suit and call it growth, maturity. Isn't quiet resignation, it's quiet bravery. Habit number 7, you rush through joy. You finish a big project, and instead of celebrating, you're already thinking about the next one. You hear a compliment and brush it off with a joke. You have a beautiful day and spend half of it waiting for something to go wrong. Why? Because somewhere along the line, joy stopped feeling safe. It started feeling like a setup, like something too fragile to trust, too fleeting to embrace. So instead of living inside it, you fast forward through it. You tell yourself, I don't want to get too comfortable. I can't afford to let my guard down. But here's what that costs you: your capacity to feel alive. Because joy, true, grounded, ordinary joy, isn't a reward. It's a resource. It's what reminds you that life is still happening, not just around you, but through you. The Stoics weren't joyless. They just knew that joy without presence is empty. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. And what good is happiness if your thoughts keep rushing past it? Here's your shift. Stop waiting for joy to prove itself. Start trusting that you're allowed to feel it, even if it doesn't last forever. Try this. Next. Time something small makes you smile. Don't move on. Linger. Notice. Name what feels good. Whisper to yourself, this moment is enough. Because the more you let joy in, the more it knows where to find you. And that's how you stop aging in fast forward and start living in real time. Don't just chase joy, learn to stay when it arrives. Habit number 8, you stop setting boundaries, you say yes. When you're already exhausted, you keep the call going. Even when your gut says end it, you reply with a smile to something that didn't deserve politeness. Not because you're weak, but because you've been trained to belong more than you've been trained to protect your peace. You've been taught that boundaries are selfish, that kindness means saying yes, that being liked is more important than being alive. But here's what the Stoics understood. If you don't protect your time, your energy, your space, no one else will. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Seneca, and one of the ways we waste it most. By saying yes when our entire body is screaming no. Because every time you abandon your own need to manage someone else's comfort, you make yourself a little smaller, a little quieter, a little more resentful. Here's your shift. Stop thinking of boundaries as walls. Start seeing them as doors that you open with choice, not obligation. Try this. Next time you feel pressured to say yes, pause. Ask yourself, will this cost me my clarity? If the answer is yes, then say no, with kindness, but with finality. You don't owe anyone access to all of you, especially when that access is paid with your peace. Because boundaries aren't barriers, they're blueprints for how you teach the world to love you better. Protecting your peace isn't rude, it's radical self-respect. Habit number 9, you romanticize the past. You scroll through old photos, and for a second, you feel that ache, the one that says, maybe life used to feel better. You think about the version of you that used to be more carefree, more fearless, more alive, and suddenly now feels hollow, now feels like a mistake. So you cling to the past, not just to remember it, but to escape from what's here. But here's the truth the Stoics knew. The past isn't always better. It's just edited. You don't remember the overwhelm. You remember the light. You don't remember the questions. You remember the confidence you had right before it all fell apart. Don't let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Stick with the present moment. Marcus Aurelius, why? Because every time you romanticize the past, you abandon the possibility of the present. Here's your shift. Stop chasing what was. Start showing up for what still can be. Try this. Write down one moment from the past you keep idealizing, then write next to it, what was I really feeling at that time? Get honest, because the version of you miss wasn't perfect. They were just allowed to be full, flawed, and free. You still are. You don't need to rewind your life to find meaning again. You just need to remember, the good old days weren't magic, you were just more present. Habit number 10, you mistake numbness for peace. You don't cry like you used to, you don't get angry either. Things just happen and you move on. No breakdowns, no drama, no high, no low. From the outside, you look mature, grounded, calm, but on the inside, you're not at peace. You're just numb, because peace is not the absence of emotion. It's the presence of clarity, of aliveness, of being able to feel. Without drowning, numbness is something else entirely. It's what happens when you stop trusting your feelings, when you overcorrect for your past chaos, by disconnecting from your present self. But here's the truth. Avoiding pain doesn't make you strong. Feeling fully and staying grounded does. The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable even in its present state. Seneca. That anxiety, it doesn't leave just because you pretend it's not there. Here's your shift. Stop calling silence growth if it's just the sound of emotional avoidance. Try this. Next time you feel nothing, pause. Place your hand on your chest and ask, what am I not allowing myself to feel right now? Then wait, let the answer rise, without judgment, without fixing. Because numbness is a wall, but peace is a window, and you deserve to look through your emotions, not live locked behind them. True peace isn't empty, it's honest. Habit 11. You keep breaking promises to yourself. You say you'll wake up earlier. You don't. You plan to rest this weekend. You overbook. Again, you tell yourself, this is the last time I overextend, overwork, overexplain. And then you do it again. Not because you're lazy, but because somewhere along the line, you started treating your own word as the easiest one to break. You wouldn't flake on a friend, you wouldn't cancel on your boss, but you cancel on yourself daily and call it being flexible. But the Stoics knew better. They knew the soul doesn't forget broken promises, even the quiet ones. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. Self-trust isn't built on motivation, it's built on memory. The memory of following through, even in small things. Here's your shift. Stop waiting for a perfect schedule. Start keeping one promise to yourself per day. No matter what, try this. Pick something simple. 5 minutes of movement, 1 glass of water, 10 minutes with no screen. Then do it. No excuses. Not for the outcome, but for the integrity. Because when you keep choosing others over your own alignment, you age faster than you realize, not in body, but in belief. Belief that your word means something. And when that belief fades, so does your center. You don't need a perfect routine. You just need to be someone yourself can trust. Habit number 12. You delay loving your life. You keep telling yourself, I'll feel better when you move, when you lose the weight, when the job shifts, when they finally understand you. And until then, you hold your breath. You don't fully relax. You don't fully show up. You live in emotional limbo, always preparing for the moment when life becomes worthy of joy. But here's what the Stoics knew. Life doesn't start later. It's happening right now. And if you don't love it in some form today, you'll keep postponing your peace into a future that never feels like enough. It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live. Marcus Aurelius. You don't need more time. You need more presence. More noticing what's working. More celebrating what's here. More saying, this version of life, imperfect, evolving, unfinished, still deserves to be loved. Here's your shift. Stop waiting for perfect. Start honoring the moments you're in. Try this. Write down 3 small things in your life right now that are working. Not big things, not flashy, just real. Then sit with them. No fixing, no upgrading, just gratitude, because aging isn't what makes life feel dull. It's the constant postponement of the joy that's already available. Don't wait to love your life, or you'll wake up loving only your memories. You are not aging wrong. You are just forgetting who you are. Aging doesn't steal your strength. Habits do. Habits of hiding, of rushing, of shrinking, of calling numbness, peace and disconnection, maturity. But every single one of them can be unlearned. The Stoics didn't promise us youth. They gave us clarity, the kind that returns not through doing more, but by remembering. You are not here to fade. You are here to become real. So ask yourself, what's one habit from this video you're ready to release to reclaim something deeper? Leave your answer below. No pressure, just truth. Because this isn't about becoming perfect, it's about becoming present. And that's how you grow stronger, wiser, and a little more stoic with every passing year. Thank you for being here, not just to listen, but to come home to you.